Greetings, everyone. DFG here. Well, guys, here we go. According to the Dallas police, they have arrested one of three suspects in the killing of Joshua Brown. And you guys remember Joshua Brown, who was the prosecuting leading witness against Amber Guyger in relationship to the Botham Jean shooting. Let me read this to you real quick. This is from NBC News, and this is what it says: Joshua Brown murder arrest made in the death of the witness in the Amber Guyger trial. Okay, 3 suspects have been identified in the murder of Joshua Brown. A key witness in the murder trial of former Dallas police officer Amber Guyger. The 3, identified as Jacarius Mitchell, 20, Michael Mitchell, 32, Thaddeus Green, 22, traveled from Alexandria, Louisiana to purchase drugs from Brown in a parking lot of a Dallas apartment complex, according to authorities. Now, I want you to think about it. I'm going to throw this in, and I got a couple other nuggets I'm going to throw in here as well. But just for the record, from Alexandria, Louisiana, which I know where Alexandria, Louisiana is. Remember, I'm from Louisiana. Not that makes me an expert, but I know where Alexandria is. And I've been to Dallas. I also live right outside of Dallas, McKinley, Texas, if any of you guys know that area as well. That is about a 4+ hour drive, one direction. So here we go. They're telling us that three guys drove 4 hours one way to buy drugs. And they're going to tell you what kind of drugs they went to buy, at least based off of what I don't want to leave the witness here. Let me go a little farther. It says, Jacarius Mitchell was in custody at the hospital, and the other 2 suspects were being sought. Dallas Assistant Police Chief Avery Moore said at a news conference Tuesday, the 2 fugitives are believed to be armed and dangerous, he says. When the suspects arrived in the parking lot, Green got out of the vehicle to talk to Brown. The conversation escalated into a physical altercation, at which point Jacarius Mitchell got out of the vehicle, Moore said. Jacarius Mitchell told police that Brown ordered him to get back in the car before shooting him in the chest. What? So he shot him in the chest just because he got out of the vehicle. Okay? Let's go further. Jacarius Mitchell fell back into the car and said he heard two gunshots. Moore said Moore. Green took Brown's backpack and gun used to shoot Jacarius Mitchell, and the 3 suspects fled the scene, Moore said. How interesting. Now, you just got shot in your chest, and you know that somehow or another your 2 cohorts picked up the man's backpack and his gun. You were that conscientious of what was going on. Not a conscious, but that aware of what was going on. Shit's starting to stink, but okay, let's go a little farther. All right, it says the suspects dropped Jacarius Mitchell off at a hospital. The assistant police chief said, adding that the warrants will be executed for the 2 other suspects. Michael Mitchell is the suspected getaway driver. Police confiscated 12 pounds of marijuana, 149 grams of THC cartridge, and $4,000 in cash from Brown's apartment, Moore said. Of course, you got to make him out to be a villain. We know that. So Dallas police, we see where you're going with this. Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson asked the public in a tweet over the weekend to refrain from speculation of Brown's shooting. I don't know why we should. Police emphasized at Tuesday's news conference that Brown's killing was not related to the testimony in Guyger's case. Bullshit. My personal opinion. The rumor shared by the community leaders that Mr. Brown's death was related to Amber Guyger's trial and that the Dallas Police Department was responsible for false, Moore said. We encourage those leaders to be mindful because their words may jeopardize the integrity of the city of Dallas and the Dallas Police Department. What integrity? What integrity that you're talking about as far as the city of Dallas and the Dallas Police Department? That police department don't have any integrity. I heard they got 3 different unions, and they have a black union, a Spanish union, and a white union, police union. I'm talking about in Dallas. So if you had integrity, then you wouldn't have to racially divide your police force, or at least racially divide union. And there are many, many, many instances where corrupt Dallas police officers have been called into question around murdering and killing innocent men. A few years back, you guys remember, they shot down a young man in the back of a parking lot and then claimed the guy was trying to hit him with the car, but one of the other officers ratted out the officer who did the killing. You remember that? About 2 years ago. Look it up. What integrity. Serious, please. Okay, let me go further. It says Brown slaying Friday. Police Brown, 28, was found laying on the ground in an apartment parking lot with gunshot wounds 2 days after Guyger was convicted for murder. Brown's slaying Friday occurred less than 6 miles from the apartment complex where Bolton Jean, his neighbor, was fatally shot by Guyger on September 6, 2018. Brown had lived across the hall from John. Okay, we know that already. Okay, whatever. Lee Merritt, a lawyer for the Jean family, said in a tweet Saturday that he spoke with Brown's mother and she was devastated. Okay, now that's just the end of it. But guys, there are several things wrong with this. Again, you want us to believe that 3 men, 20, 22, and 32, drove 4 hours, over 300 miles in one direction, from Louisiana to Texas, to buy marijuana? And in the purchase of marijuana, somehow another argument escalated to Brown just shooting a guy in the chest for no reason outside he got out of the car, according to this. Oh, and the guy he shot fell back into the car, but somehow was aware that his, I guess, either his friend or cousin, whoever, the other guy, picked up the backpack from Brown with Brown's gun. Now, I would think the last thing you would want to have is a murder weapon in your car when you're trying to run away from killing somebody. And wouldn't self-defense come into play somewhere in there? If this guy pulls a gun and shoots your friend and you had a gun and you shot him back, then why are you on the run? Why would they be on the run? I mean, that's a classic case of self-defense, unlike the Guyger and Bolton John situation. And then somehow or another they dropped this one off at the hospital. They just conveniently dropped him off at the hospital and left him behind and took off, but with no sense of, I don't know, maybe concern that he would tell on those two. And this all happened Friday, and yet we're finding out about it on Tuesday. And they still don't have the 2 main suspects. And they don't give a reason why. So he could tell them that he got out of the car, talking about the Mitchell fellow who was shot. He could tell them why he got out of the car. He could tell them that Brown had a backpack, that they took Brown's gun. He could give them that kind of information, but no information around what caused the dispute in the first place and what would make Brown. You see, you got to make Brown out to be a murderer. You know, you got to pin this tag on this man because, you know, after all, we got to clean up and have a Guyger. You follow me? So we need to clean this up real quick and now we got to make it. And yeah, you remember, guys, they were trying to make this guy out to be a villain even last week. And even leading into the trial, they were trying to make him out the villain. He got shot in the foot. He had a felony, etc., etc., etc. But they couldn't argue with the fact that he saw what he saw and he could back it up with evidence. And now they want us to buy this bullshit that somehow or another, out of the blue, 3 guys drive from Alexandria, Louisiana, all the way to Dallas, Texas, over 4 hours, which would have made an 8-hour round trip to get marijuana. And somehow in the purchase of a marijuana, Brown decided he needed to shoot a guy, and then the other guy shoots him. You know what this brought to my mind? Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton was a 21-year-old chairman of the Black Panther Party in Chicago, Illinois, in 1969. Now, where I'm not saying Joshua Brown was a political leader or anything like that, no such thing. But something very similar happened in the case of how Fred Brown was assassinated. Because in the beginning of the when in the shootout, according to the Chicago Police Department, in the Chicago Police Commissioner, they knocked on Fred Hampton's door, and for no reason, Fred Hampton just unloaded on them just with a barrage of bullets. And therefore, they went in, and of course, they killed him and killed, I think, Mark Clark, another Panther guy was in there. Fred was laying next to his wife, who was, I think, like 9 months pregnant at the time. And then later on, to find out that, okay, you know, they found a bullet, close range bullet wound in Fred Hampton's head. But in investigating the case, it came out later that Fred Hampton had shot with one shot. And they're not even sure, they weren't even sure if Fred Hampton fired that shot. And it was at least, I'm going to tell you guys, 70, 80, maybe 100 bullet holes going into the room where Fred Hampton was asleep. But they lied and said Fred Hampton had shot first, or was shooting at them, and they tried to make us believe, or at that time people believed that nails in the wall were bullet holes, only to be proven later on that that's all they were. They were nails in the wall, and they lied about it. So, and again, I'm sure all you guys probably know about some police cover-ups. I just brought that one out because that one came to mind. Just, you know, that's the first thing that came to my mind. So, in other words, will the police lie to cover up a murder? You damn right they'll lie. Will they manipulate evidence? You better believe it. And this Mitchell person, I'm talking about the one who Brown supposedly shot, who's alive in the hospital. For him to be that conscious of what was going on around him after getting shot in the chest, and you're still aware enough to be able to give those kind of facts, but strangely, there's nothing else to be reported, and it took the Dallas Police Department almost 4 days to report this? Guys, look, you don't have to be a genius to figure out where this is going. And I would say to every last one of you guys out there, do not buy the lie. That is a lie. I believe it. It's my personal opinion, but based off just a little fact that I just read to you, and just use your own judgment, your own common sense, and ask you, what did Joshua Brown have to gain by shooting a man for getting out of his car? And what did those guys have to gain by driving an 8-hour trip to get some marijuana? That makes absolutely no damn sense unless you want it to make sense, unless you're trying to dupe the public to get everybody's focus off of the Dallas Police Department and that assassination and pin it on, in my opinion, an innocent man who was only trying to do the right thing. I'm sure there'll be more to come, but just wanted to give and share with you the latest on that information. Thank you guys. Talk to you soon. DFG. Bye now.